Hi guys, just checking in. My name is Jen. I am the Digital Ministry Coordinator here at Shepherd's Heart Fellowship, and this year I became our Music and Worship Ministry Team Leader. And I just wanted to jump on here and give you a decent update because we had a recent leadership team meeting, and those meetings are really good opportunities for us to find out what each ministry team has been doing, plans to do, special notes on the ministries of Shepherd's Heart, and then also come to an understanding about the vision for ministry in the church as a whole. Those meetings are actually open meetings and anyone in the church can attend. But I know that's not always the most convenient or the most interesting. It is a lot of business. So I thought I would try to summarize some of our ministry team reports and fill you guys in on the exciting things that are going on. But first, I'm going to show you where you can find this pertinent information anytime that you want it, and it's in this room right over here. All right, so down here, when you first walk into the library door and to the right, on this bottom shelf, you'll find all of these binders. These binders include all of the ministry team minutes from all of their individual team meetings, all of the congregational business meeting minutes, if you've ever missed one of those, and the leadership team meeting reports and minutes. Some of these go all the way back to 2010. This can be a useful tool for people who are thinking about entering into leadership to see where we've come from, people who are currently serving to know where we've come from, and then of course to stay updated and informed about what we continue to do as a church. I'm sure I won't always be able to verbally share, so this is a great resource. Maybe you already knew these were here, or maybe you forgot, but yeah, check them out. All right, so every leadership team meeting starts with a wonderful word or devotional from our leadership team chairs. And I've actually asked Tammy to come share with you today her vision for ministry for the church in 2024, which revolves around a beloved psalm. And I'll let Tammy tell you about that herself.
Hi, my name is Tammy Victor, and I'm the leadership chair for our church. And I challenged the leadership team with a special verse that I found. It comes from Psalms 121, 1 and 2. I lift my eyes to the mountain, and where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. And this was my little devotion that I gave everybody that night to take home and put on the refrigerator. Mountains, we all have mountains in our life, whether it's our daily lives or we have mountains in our church too. And so I challenge us, what mountains do you have that need to be moved, that you need to pray about? Because even a tiny mustard seed can be your faith to move that mountain with God's help. So when you think about it, you have to get up every morning. That's a mountain that you have to climb. Just to get out of bed is a challenge for some people, so that's a mountain. So we have many mountains that we need, and if you seek God first and pray about it, you can move those mountains. Thank you.
Awesome. I love that this message has been on our mural wall in the narthex for years now because our help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. So let's review some of our ministry teams and get excited about what Shepherd's Heart is doing. First, the Christian Education Ministry Team. This team is responsible for the children's protection policy that we have here at church, which means that every volunteer who works in kids' ministries must agree to and adhere to a particular policy in order to keep those kids safe. All of those volunteers have signed those forms and turned them in, and we will have a special dedication for those teachers and kids workers on March 10th during the worship service. This team is still in search of backups for life application classes as well as Bible Fun Day. So if you think God has gifted you for ministry in one of those areas, we could really use your assistance. They also discuss the continuation of the Friday devotional video series that you see coming out week to week. Marcia is almost finished in her 100 Days of Love series. It is likely that I will do a couple maybe palate cleansing videos, and then Brent Friel is hopefully going to bring us a series as well. Stay tuned. The Christian education team is talking about reaching out to many people to start Bible studies. So I would just ask us to pray for that. Pray for that ministry. Pray for all of the Christian education opportunities so we can continue to equip individuals for a life of ministry and mission. Next, for our fellowship and hospitality ministry team, Cindy has graciously given us a long list of all of the events that they're planning for month to month throughout the year. I'm not going to read all of them right now, but you can find them in the church newsletter or, of course, in the minutes in those binders that I just showed you. But what I can tell you is that coming up in March, we, of course, have Easter. So the fellowship team is providing the Easter breakfast at 8:15 on Easter morning. That will include scrambled eggs, sausage, biscuits and gravy, fresh fruit, apple juice, coffee. They will also be setting up on March 30th. So make sure you sign up for that breakfast and come enjoy a beautiful Easter morning in celebration of our risen Savior. For the Missions and Evangelism Ministry team, they met recently to discuss the digital ministry of the church. This position's contract with the church actually includes putting out the monthly newsletter, all of the YouTube video ministry, recording, editing, and uploading, as well as the church website updating and maintenance. Taking a look at each of those areas, each of those things really falls under outreach. Currently, that position falls under the pastoral relations team because it was an offshoot of the office ministry. But looking at those efforts, it really fits much better under missions and evangelism. So part of the leadership team discussion included moving this position from pastoral relations ministry to missions and evangelism ministry. That means all the contract, all the salary, all the job description, that would fall under the responsibility of the missions team. This functions similarly to how our custodian is technically employed by our property team. After all of that discussion, it made a lot of sense, and so we voted to do that. It doesn't change our budget in any way for the year, but it simply shifts the ministry into the proper place for oversight. Our church's Facebook operates under volunteers. It was also decided that for the paper and hygiene products pantry, we would start providing black and white copies of the church newsletter to every one of the patrons. This will help keep us connected with them, let them know what our church has going on, hear from you directly, and then of course bolster and boost the events that we have going on here at Shepherd's Heart. We've also made an effort to change our prayer cards, which for those who don't know it, Paper Pantry, not only do we pass out bags, but we also walk around and hand out small cards for them to turn in prayer requests. And a few of us sit inside the entire time and pray for those requests. We do this verbally and also silently. But now at the bottom of those prayer cards, it includes a spot to say, I want to become part of the prayer chain, or I want to stay connected with Shepherd's Heart, and then of course contact information. But there's a very important section we've added that says, I need someone to talk to. Please connect with me. We've done this in an effort to give some foundation to building blocks of relationship. We're not just here to meet the physical needs of our community, but also the spiritual and emotional ones. So this has been a real blessing. Missions and Evangelism team is still collecting clothing, coats, and blankets for St. Margaret's house. You'll find those boxes in the church hallway. Oddly, St. Margaret's only takes visits for drop-off on Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So the missions team is in real need of people who are willing to come here and to take some of these items to St. Margaret's house. So St. Margaret's doesn't get overwhelmed. They also only accept one bag per person. So it's not like you'd have to come and take everything, but if you can help little by little, we can chisel away at our donations for St. Margaret's house and really help the women over there. In the March newsletter, you will also find that we are supporting St. Margaret's with a baby shower. We are buying baby items, diapers, pacifiers, not wrapping them per se, but just bringing them to the church so we can donate those items for the women in need, for new mamas. So like I said, more details will be in the March newsletter if you can check that out. I may also put that description in this video if you're more interested. Next on the list, we have music and worship ministry team. Incredibly, we found this year that we had the funds to purchase our new sound mixer. It's nearly identical to the one that we had, but it's about 25 years younger. Ron Whitaker is here today as we speak, organizing all of the things that have to be plugged in and unplugged and figuring that out for us. We are so grateful to him for all of his work, and hopefully this will help clear up some of the issues that we've been having over the last several years with our sound, make things a little easier, a little smoother, maybe even reduce some of the equipment that we have in the sound booth. Other ideas from us this year include regular worship nights again. Hopefully we will be coming together to do both contemporary nights and hymn sings, as well as introducing some new music. You can look forward to the song Holy Forever by Chris Tomlin to come soon to our church. And then of course we've had to discuss the Easter season. Pastor Len has graciously given us a fifth Sunday to be here and give a sermonette for the sunrise service and a sermon for the Easter worship service. So huge thanks to Len for offering, to Teresa and New Paris for sharing, and to the Lord for providing. Alongside those two great messages will be special music and of course congregational singing, something that we just love to do here at Shepherd's Heart. Sunrise service will be at 7:30 on Easter morning, followed by the Easter breakfast at 8:15, followed by our worship service at 10 a.m. And there will not be life application classes that day. Moving to the pastoral relations ministry team, the last time they met, they talked about Len as our intern pastor, how things have been going, catching up with him and getting feedback. And then a lot of the conversation switched to the search committee. Via our constitution, our pastoral search committee must be made of the entire pastoral relations team, which at this time includes Vern Beckman, Nate Wilkins, and myself, the leadership team chair, which is Tammy Victor, and then a representative from each of the Sunday school classes. And we've managed to actually get a couple of other volunteers. Some of that conversation is still in transit, but so far we know that Katie Hipsher and Nicole Wilkins both want to serve, Jack Carey when he is well and able, and Marcia in the meantime to help him out, and still the potential of one other. How this process is going to move forward from here is that the leadership team and the pastoral search committee are going to get together with our district executive, Torrin Eichler. That will happen on March 20th. Torrin will address all of us, and then the leadership team will be asked to leave, and then he'll get into the nitty-gritty with the pastoral search committee. Several things need to happen to move this process through, such as updating our congregational profile, and my understanding is that you, our congregation, are going to be critical for us understanding exactly where we're at and what we want moving forward, and more information on that will come later. And then pastoral relations also needs to update the job duties, job description for a pastor whom we hire, and of course we'll start going through reading the pastoral profiles, many meetings, many discussions, in order to discern God's leadership coming in for this church. Please be in prayer for this process. This is going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort, a lot of listening, and a lot of obedience. So pray for our strength, encourage one another. We need to know that growth takes good leadership and relationship. Growth dedication means more than the pastor. It means asking God how he can use us to grow our church. So this is a great season of reflection and understanding of us personally with God and the presence of the Holy Spirit. A list of updates from our property ministry team include all of the things that they've been doing since last December. So that means picking up the remaining leaves around the church, and thank you to the many volunteers who put hands into that work. Steve continuing to do the water testing. That's just something that we have to do every quarter. Those fire bushes out front were trimmed and the stumps still need to be removed this spring. Fire extinguishers all throughout the church were inspected. That's also something that happens annually and regularly. Some of you may have seen that we had a little bit of a roof leak happening right over here in our hallway by door B. Again, a lot of gracious hands came, cleaned up that mess, dried out the insulation, replaced the ceiling tiles. So if we hear anything more, we'll give you updates about that. Various other odd jobs have been done around the church, of course, small spot cleaning of carpets, but eventually we will need to clean the carpets of the whole church. Your stewardship and finance ministry team worked really hard at the end of the year to get giving envelopes out, to tabulate the giving records for 2023 and make sure everybody got that for their tax purposes this season. If you do not have an envelope number but you would like one, please just get with Ed Friel or Fred Whitmer, and they can set you up with that so that you can record it on your taxes. In Ed's report, he had this special note that says, "Thanks to all who helped make this commission so successful. Thanks to the congregation for their faithfulness and love for the Lord. We are greatly blessed to have such a loving and faithful congregation." I couldn't agree more. The shepherding team is made up of our church deacons, and Cindy is the head of that this year. They are celebrating the wonderful things that have happened in January and February, such as Jaden's baptism and the rail communion we all got to participate in on January 28th. Looking ahead, March 28th is Maundy Thursday, and that is the time for our annual Love Feast, which has the modest sop meal, communion, fellowship, and feet washing. These traditional services love and honor the Lord, and we do all of that in remembrance of Him. This will be a special time again this year, led by Pastor Len and the shepherding team, and we hope that you'll consider to come out and join us in this beautiful tradition of brotherly love, humility, and respect for Jesus Christ. Each meeting we're given a treasurer's report, which is a long list of numbers. This information is public, and again, you can find this in those library notes. I'm not going to stand here and read to you every line item, but if you're curious, you are more than welcome to check that out. Lastly, for the reports that are shared, our wonderful intern pastor filled us in on some of the ministries he's been doing for shepherds. Of course, he remains available each Friday before the Sundays that he preaches. He is preaching the second, third, and fourth Sundays of every month, and 5th in March. Pastor Len has also been floating to each of the Sunday school classes and attending each one in support of our congregation. He's made it to multiple different team meetings, including those with the deacons. He's also been participating in afternoon lunches and such with the congregation. And in February, 5 of our church members joined him at Menahoff over in Shipshawana, where he guided us on a tour to learn more about our denominational Anabaptist theological heritage. That's really interesting, by the way. I would really recommend it if you ever want to check it out. Menahoff. Len has also been delivering personal communion to those who were not able to attend with us on January 28th. And if you would like to take advantage of that, please call the church office and set up a time where Len could meet with you. Of course, his future messages are continuing on in the spiritual disciplines. We just had the discipline of celebration. Coming up next is simplicity. We will also enjoy solitude, submission, service, and meditation. Of course, come and enjoy his messages on Palm Sunday and Easter Sunday. Briefly, I'm going to give you an introduction to this new ministry that has been talked about around Shepherd's Heart for the last few months. It sort of started as a personal ministry and a need that came to the attention of our church. Now, Missions and Evangelism is overseeing it, and they are working on putting a policy in order. But this ministry is called Hands of the King. Here at Shepherd's Heart, we have internal methods of caring for one another through our shepherding team and any need that arises within the congregation or our close-knit groups, but nothing in particular to help outside of these walls. Without too many details, this ministry seeks to rectify that. But this is not just physical or financial charity. This is a relational building tool to help meet spiritual needs of those in the community, to reach the lonely, the orphans, the widows, and to love those around us, our neighbors. As this ministry becomes more fleshed out, I'm sure you will hear updates about how there's already been wonderful work provided for people through our community meal or a paper pantry, and more opportunities for how you can assist in kingdom work for our neighbors. This is not one person's ministry. This is everybody's ministry. This is the Lord's ministry, and we are just the hands of the King. So stay tuned for more information about that. And that, I think, about wraps it up. I hope you found this information beneficial. I hope that this makes you feel more connected to some of the ministries here at Shepherd's. And I hope that you remain in prayer for every single one of these leadership team leaders. Remember that they are all volunteers, that all of this ministry here happens by volunteers, that each and every one of you are a critical and crucial part of the ministries, and most of you are serving on one of these teams as well. If not directly, then by extension. And thank you so much for being a part of our church. Thank you for the individual ways that you are the hands of the King. And I pray that we continue to keep His will for us at the forefront of our minds as we continue to move forward together in love. Take care and God bless, Shepherd's Heart.